welcome to another layout. Now, today I'm doing something a little bit different for me anyway. I'm not getting all mixed media-y. I decided today I'm going to minimize my mess and I'm going to just play with paper. Sometimes that's all we need, is we just need to just get one with paper. And that's what I'm doing today. So I pulled out my Paige Evans Garden Shop collection, Shoppe. I don't know how you say that. It's spelled S-H-O-P-P-E. So I guess it's meant to be Shoppe collection. And I pulled out paper number 9. Now I bought the paper pad, but I've also bought some extra pages that I knew that I would really want to use multiples of, because they really speak to me, because they're in squares or triangles or circles or whatever. And so this particular page, it's in the I've got it in the paper pack, but because I bought it extra, Paige actually numbers her pages. So that's why it's paper number 9. Anyway, while I'm waffling, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just cutting the squares and grouping them into their tones, I guess, colors. So I wasn't sure about exactly, I had an idea of where I wanted to go with this layout, and I don't know why, but when it comes to Paige's papers, I don't feel really mixed media when I use them. I feel like I just want to play with just the paper. I don't know why that is, but it's what I do. So all I'm doing here, and this is why I've sped this bit up like crazy, I'm just going around the edges with my scissors. Now this pair of scissors I use pretty much specifically for this now. Since I bought the Tim Holtz mini snips, they're pretty much what I use when I do fussy cutting, because they are so good on my hands. Now, apologies for how puffy my hands are. I'm having a massive flare up with my rheumatoid arthritis. It's just delightful. I think it's weather related. We've had some storms and stuff popping up around here, so I think it's, yeah. So my hands are a little bit puffy. Sorry about that. Now, if you're new to my channel, can I please say thank you for dropping by. I am super grateful to have you pop in and check out what I do. Quite often I like to do both heavy mixed media. I like to do some pages that are more I guess you would say like floral and girly sort of looking. I also love doing things where I cut apart papers and use them possibly how they were not intended to be used. So this particular page obviously screams to be cut into squares and do something with the squares. Or you can, I've seen other things that, you know, other people have used, just because obviously I'm a content creator and I watch other people as well to see what they do with it. Now, this particular collection's been out for a little bit, so obviously it's a little hard to avoid seeing other people using collections. But I decided that as I was going through this, I wanted to create an arrow. I know. I told you in 2023, if you're new to my channel, I promised everybody that I would start telling you what inspires each page. This particular page was inspired by an arrow. I know, I know, it's one of those things. This is how my brain thinks sometimes. I just want to, I kind of go in a direction, and all I wanted to do was do an arrow. And when you're looking at squares, if I had to cut these into triangles, it would have made so much more sense. But see how I'm creating kind of an arrow like that? That's where my head was going. Now, I did glue the first one down, which is not a drama. And I've drawn myself a line this is to make sure that I get it square and plumb and straight on, right? Now, this is, I did decide that I wanted to leave, so I've roughed up all the edges and I wanted to leave a gap between each one. So it wasn't all on top of each other. Does that make sense? Now, I have one stuck on my hand. Apology. I keep picking up colours. I didn't want the colours next to each other and I didn't want them to overlap. So they ended up on my hand because they already had sticky stuff on them. Now, here is where, this is just how my brain works, okay? I don't know why I think this way, but this is what I do. So I'm trying to just stack them together and create an arrow which is going to then point directly to my photo. My photo is one, I've actually scrapped several of these photos. It was, my kids were just laying out the front. I'm pretty sure it was 2020. And we were just having a laugh and a joke and all the rest of it. And I was taking some photos and my kids obliged and they're like, yeah, all right, take some photos, whatever, get it over with. And, you know, because that's how kids are sometimes, especially for us scrappers, because we take photos on top of photos on top of photos sometimes. So, but it's all good. So we ended up taking these photos and I do have, and I printed out probably a lot more than I would normally have used. And so I've got a 4x6 photo and I wanted to create a focal point going towards it. So what I guess what I'm trying to get across here is in 2023, I'm trying to get everybody to look at papers in a slightly different way. I don't want you to just, I want ideally, everyone think like me. Ha ha ha. It doesn't work like that. Okay, so what I'm trying to get you to do is when you look at a piece of paper, so for instance, this particular sheet of paper, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, all right, there's squares with stacks of pattern and they are all on here, and what am I going to do with this? Where's this going to go? For me in my brain, the easiest way to attack it is to make the pattern smaller. So Paige has obviously created this paper, this particular paper, and what she's done is create them just square on top of square. I wanted to alter that. So that's what I'm doing here. It's that simple. It's really not that difficult. All I've done is, the only bit of advice I will give you if you want to give something like this a crack, it is super easy. Honestly, I really do genuinely think anyone could do this. The 2 bits of advice I will give you is draw some lines. So see how you can see some of those lines just to keep everything straight. And have yourself, so I'm lining up both tips of that square with that line, which is the top of where the photo is going to be matted, and that's where the photo is going. So I'm not concerned about those overhangy bits. That's fine. They're going to be covered anyway. So I'm just trying to, the only thing that did bother me is there was no blue in this top piece. So I'm just creating 3 focal points. Now, why does that work? If you're new to scrapbooking, you will probably hear people say quite often the rule of 3s. Okay, I don't know what the heck this rule of 3 is, but I can tell you that for your eye to look at something and go, oh wow, that looks really good. I don't know what it is about it, but it looks really good. 9 times out of 10, it will be because there is a repetitive third pattern situation going on. Doesn't matter how busy the pattern is. It doesn't matter whether it's 3 photos. It doesn't matter if it's 3 bunches of flowers. Like some people do a lot of embellishing and they create what they call embellishment clusters. Sometimes I do that, but not very often because I'm not a huge, I like to use my papers and maybe a cut file or something like that. That's kind of my embellishment. That's what I like to do in my albums. So for myself, this is, see how there's the three? So they're not exactly the same. The little cluster at the bottom there that's creating that bottom triangle, it's not all going the same direction. So all three of those are pointing different ways, if that makes sense. So you can see the top little cluster is arrowing across to the right. The giant arrow is pointing to the left, and then the bottom is going back to the right. I'd love to say I planned it that way, but you know what? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really didn't. It was just something I noticed after. This is my giant box of sticky everything. Sorry about that. Nothing like bringing the behind the scenes stuff to in front of the camera. So what I decided to do was go through with some of my foam squares. Now you can see up in the right hand corner there, I've just set the get my brain to work. It's the label for the Stick Master. That's the brand of foam squares that I'm using at the moment. These little guys are really handy. They're dirt cheap. I think I bought these ages ago from Crafts Online. That's where I got them from. And they've actually just increased their minimum order to get free postage. Oh, there's Jen waving hi. She was still home from school sick today when I created this, so she'll be back to school tomorrow, and hopefully nobody decides to pass on a nasty tummy bug to her again. That was horrendous. I felt like the worst mother, but it's okay. She's come out the other side and she's fine. It's gonna be all good. So I'm going through and all I'm doing is raising up the point part of the square. So it's lifted ever so slightly. It's not adding insane amount of texture. Someone was asking the other day, where do you decide to, actually it was Carol. Hi Carol. Was asking, where is it that you decide to put the foam? When you're going to put foam under something, where do you put it? For me, I always put foam under my focal point. So the photo, excuse me, gee whiz, it's 4:30. I shouldn't be yawning at this point of the day. Okay, so for me, I quite often put foam under my photo or my photos, depending what I'm trying to raise up. Now, what I ended up doing on these little guys is I put the foam just under the tip, just to raise it up, to give some texture to the page. So now if you run your hand across it, it's kind of like, you know, when you run your fingers down a pack of cards, it's kind of, it feels like that. So that's one of the things I do. I quite often raise up leaves with some, you know, if I'm using leaves or floral something, I will raise up those with some foam. Now, I'm going around with my UNIBALL SIGNO BROARD pen, this in the white. This pen is a pigment ink. It is thebomb.com. It looks like I'm struggling a bit here. It's because I'm down to the very last bit in this pen, and I use these pens until they literally no longer work. They are awesome. The white pigment, see how it really stands out? That's because it's a pigment ink. It stays white and it sits on the surface. So for anyone wanting to know what's the difference between a pigment ink and a dye ink and all that sort of thing, well, these particular pens, they're a pigment ink, so they don't absorb into the paper. They sit up on top of the paper. It does mean that they stay wetter longer, but it gives you a much... Jen's hands, apologies guys. See how it sits on top of the paper and it gives you a very white, bright white look. I sometimes use my Posca paint pens for doing this as well, but if I'm not using mixed media, my go-to pen is my UNIBALL SIGNO BROARD, and I do buy it in the 3-pack. You can get it in a 3-pack. I get it from Officeworks. It is fantastic. Now I decided, don't mind me, just leaning forward there. So I'm using Kitsch Flamingo. It's a Distress Oxide colour, and I'm using that one because I wasn't quite sure. I wanted to go down the blue route with this photo, but for some reason I went pink, and Ange is not a pink girl. She's beautiful, but pink is not her go-to color. If she's going to come out in a color, it'll be black or gray, or at the moment she seems to really like sage green. That seems to be a color that she's wearing quite a bit. So pink doesn't usually go hand in hand with a layout that I would normally do for Ange, but this, I think it works. I think it turns out okay. Now, what I always like to do on my layouts is whenever I do my title, I always like to have a white offset. If I cut it on my Cricut, I create a white offset. So that way my title really stands out. Today I decided to use the thickers, which is called This and That. They go together with this paper. And basically I decided that I'll stick them down on some white cardstock, and that will raise them up a little bit. I did consider using another word, but they were more blue than they were green, so I thought it would look really obvious and weird, so I didn't use them. So I just run around the edge of it just with some Kitsch Flamingo, just so it had a bit of a border. And then I decided it needs more. So I reached into my little trusty drawer behind me, and I pulled out, these are PEBBLES-LOVELY Moment stickers. Now I bought these eons ago. Don't know why. They're not normally something I would reach for, but I was really glad I looked behind me and flicked through, because they've got these gold stems and they're on a clear sticker, and they go beautifully on these squares. Just variegated stems, and it works. It totally works, and it brings in that metallic element. I absolutely love using a metallic element to every single layout that I do. I absolutely love it. Some people swear by gold splatters or something like that. I prefer for it to be more targeted. So for instance, these stickers, I'm specifically putting them in a spot. They're not just sort of going everywhere for me. So yeah, I quite like these, and I think they finish it off really, really nicely. Now, before I get to the very end of this, and I do still do another couple of things, but before I get to the end of this, oh no, I think I'm going to sneeze. Please don't sneeze. Okay, I want to do my shameless plug. Okay, so it's Saturday. This video is going up on Saturday. I'm recording this during the week. I am trying super hard to bring you as much content as I humanly possibly can. I bring out at least 6 videos a week, if not 7. And basically I'm looking to have a giveaway once we reach 1,500 subscribers. The reason behind that is because for my subscribers, allowing me to do what I love, I want to give back to you guys. So that's what I want to do. So once we hit 1,500 subscribers, I'm going to have another big giveaway. So if you like buying scrapbooking supplies, this is the giveaway for you. Okay, so here we are. I'm finally finished. I ran around the edge with my gold Posca paint pen, and it finished it off beautifully. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you are not already a subscriber. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed, hit the like button and leave me a comment. Let me know where you're from. I absolutely love that. I had one from Oregon the other day. It's like, whoa, someone in Oregon's watching me. It was pretty cool. I absolutely get a buzz from knowing where people are actually watching my videos from. South Africa. Wow, that blows my mind. So yeah, so there we go, guys. I hope you really enjoyed that. I hope I didn't waffle on too much about different colors and whatnot, but that is pretty much it. So I'm just giving you a really good close-up and slowing it down so you can see it. Thanks heaps for watching, guys. I will chat to you soon. Bye for now.